Hey everyone, today we're going to do a Prepper Brothers scenario. Our scenario today is shit has hit the fan and thousands of people are migrating towards you. What do you do? For me, I'm a bug in type of person. I don't even like the phrase bugging out. I don't think it's a very wise decision to take a little bit of stuff with you when you could be safe at your house and be more prepared there and have shelter and food and water, hopefully. But in this case, where you have thousands of people that are most likely going to be scared, hungry, and not going to be necessarily thinking straight, because remember, it's hit the fan, so they're already probably had their struggles and things like that. So if they're coming to your sanctuary, you don't know if they're going to cause harm or not. When you have that many people coming to another area that are going to be hungry, you're not going to have enough food for them. Most people are going to be preparing for uh, their own families and things like that. So you're not going to be able to feed all these people. Maybe you even started a community where you've been farming and things like that. Um, but all these people, it's just going to be a whole mass load. It's going to be like putting another species into another environment. Even though they're not a different species, they're a bunch of people. I don't think that you would be able to help all of them, and I don't think they would think that you could help them either. But other than by taking your stuff. Um, so for this scenario, I would say that bugging out would be an option. Hopefully you have a place to bug out to. Hopefully you've had that plan ready. Hopefully you've communicated with like-minded people, people in your family about what you would do in this type of situation. You can see our other video where we talk about communication and having a plan. So that would be, I guess, my best option. I don't think that your your house would then be, a place to bug in anymore. I think that would be lost. So what do you think, Jim? What can you add to that? Maybe I'm missing something.
When you first asked the question, I was like, my first thought was run, just run. And like you said, bugging out is the prepping term for that. We like you said, look back at our communication video where we talk about communication and all that, because I think that is an important part. And if shit already hit the fan, you've kind of been through the first steps of your plan. If you know that shit hit the fan, it's been whatever set amount of time that you've bugged in for, and now you need to move on to the next part of your plan, which usually, bugging in is going to be the first step. Bugging out is your next step. There's pretty much, those are the two steps. You stay or you go. So in this situation, yeah, you want to stay as long as you can, but then at some point you're going to need to go. And when you go, just take it what you can with you. Make sure you have your gear, have your family, have your communication if possible, and just, try to move with your like-minded people and your family and everything like that. So I think, yeah, my first response is run, and my second response is run. So.
Now, is that some type of, now what about, there's going to be people that are going to say, well, that's not very humanitarian. Do you maybe want to hold off until you know that these people will be hostile, or is saying that yes, they will be hostile, or it's not worth the risk? Is that pretty much a solid yes? We're going to already write them off as saying, yeah, they're going to be hostile.
And it's different in different situations. I think personally, in history, if you look at, we're talking about maybe people migrating from one place to another. It could be, from a city to a suburb. It could be from, somewhere that's in the country. These are, fellow Americans or whatever. If they're moving, you think it would be different. It could be different, but for the most part, when people or if they're refugees from another country, they're not like necessarily looking to start fights. They've had a long journey for the most part to where they're going, and they're tired and hungry, and they just need help. Um, on a personal level, on an individual level, rather, I think that how much can you actually do first off to help them? Like, is that something that you like? Do you have enough food for tens of thousands of people that are coming? Like, no, you don't. There's no way you do. Um, and secondly, I think that let me think about the second way. I had a point.
I think it's another point to say too is that shit has hit the fan. It's not just 1,000 people just coming willy nilly. You know that something drastic has happened to maybe a city or whatever where they're doing that. Maybe there's too much chaos as it is. I mean, just having a whole bunch of people just come and migrating into another suburb is kind of unheard of anyway. If there was no type of like government or anything to kind of help them, or I mean, even these FEMA camps, usually there's some kind of place where people can gather themselves and have food, water and shelter. Things of that nature. So that's another thing to think about. If it was that bad where there was no kind of national help to be had, you got to consider people are going to try and fend for themselves, and that goes for both ways. So, are you going to give up all your stuff, or your lives, or put everybody in your family in danger? Even if that's not the case, are you willing to risk that?
If they're not migrating a long distance, if it's just short distances, and they're just worried about themselves, and there is a good chance of them being hostile, like you were asking. I think that there is a chance of aggression, and then usually when people are scared, that is one of the first emotions that kind of take over. You kind of turn to anger, you turn to hostility, and it's just human nature. You want to protect yourself, you want to protect your loved ones. So why would anyone else do differently? And if you're trying to move from one place to another, there's a chance, at least I would say. I don't think there's absolute certainty, but I think there's definitely a chance of groups of people being violent coming through wherever you live, your hometown. So you have to kind of think about that and be prepared. So sometimes just avoiding the confrontation is all you can do. So I think that is definitely a good option.
Yep. So we want to know what you think. What would you do in this type of scenario? It's pretty much fight or flight, or you can try and do the humanitarian thing and try to bring them into your community. So what would you do? Let us know. Maybe you have something else that we didn't think of. While you're responding to the video, please give us a like and subscribe. We're trying to get 100 subscribers this year, so please try and help us out. That would be great, and go from there. Jim, you got anything to add?
Nope.